with your mindset that have, yeah, that's cool. Like, I'm off the clock, but I'll take this text, I'll take this phone call. I'm your friend as well as a support worker. And if there were more people like you with that mindset, or they challenge their thinking around it, then um, there would be more successful outcomes within care teams, within schools and systems, and in the disability sector. Skilled Carer is here to provide more than just care. We support families, participants, support workers, care teams, and the community to understand disability, reduce stigma, grow capacity, promote happiness, and achieve dreams. I started Skilled Carer to provide sustainable growth, trust, integrity, and education to the industry. We do this by employing reliable and responsible support workers with high integrity and moral fibre. We educate and support them within the industry, and we liaise with families to find sustainable solutions to their lives and facilitate their needs. Our goal is to enable each person we support to live the life they choose. We facilitate our clients' goals, which may be to rejoin the workforce, get and hold a job or career, master everyday tasks, gain ownership and independence, or access community services, as well as anything else they need and are searching for. We provide education through the zones of regulation to help the individual learn and understand their emotions, recognise others, and implement strategies to help them regulate their emotions and reduce behaviours. This is an interview with Ryan, the other Ryan. He's been a support worker with Skilled Care for 2 years. We discuss empathy, sport and the positive influence it has on us all, transferable skills from other professions to support work, Ryan's work with his participants and how it's impacted his life, valuing how we treat others. And he brings up a reminder that we all need positive reinforcement, encouragement, and to talk through our emotions. Ryan has been shown a relentless resilience to his support work. So I hope you enjoy the episode of Keeping Up with the Ryans. Thanks for taking the time to come on, Ryan. You've been a support worker with Skilled Carer for coming up to 2 years now. And you've been really resilient, and you've never given up. And that's what I've seen to drive your success on the surface. I'm sure there's been some mental battles that that you go through, but you really go above and beyond. And your work with Andreas in particular is exactly why I started this company. And it's an example of what parents and participants should see what's possible. You're such a positive influence on his life, and he just received some news that he'll become school captain. And I know he's captained his basketball team a few times over the last years since you've worked with him. What do you think has enabled your, success as a support worker? Is it a mindset? Is it an attitude?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ryan. Firstly, yeah, I think for me, probably the opportunity came along at a really good time in my life, and I was sort of missing something, and yeah, to be able to throw myself in and sort of help others achieve things, like what I get out of it is it really is just priceless. Like, it's that feeling of appreciation, even just like when you said I go above and beyond. I really think about the opportunities that I try and bring into the lives of the clients that I work with, and then when I see them thriving in those situations and stuff, it's so yeah, it's like so rewarding. And then in terms of that, I would say it would definitely be a mindset for me. Like, when I went into it, I didn't know a lot about it, but I came in with a whole lot of different life experiences and skill sets, from junior sports coaching, captaining sports teams, leadership positions when I was back at school, that sort of stuff. So I came in with a heap of experience, but I didn't know that it was of value, not only to myself, but to others. And then just applying those things along the way as challenges came. And yeah, just not like, sometimes there is the immediate decisions that you have to make, and like with behavioural issues and those sort of things. But everything else, like there's time away from a client where you can consider the situations and the way that you're going to expose them to them. So
Yeah.
that
So
would be
did
it.
you start off with sort of a lower confidence towards things, being unsure? Because now you seem, speaking to you in the last couple of months, you seem really assure of yourself, and even more, taking the initiative to think about running a basketball team with other people with disability, and going away on camps and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, literally, I had no idea that the skill sets that I had and the experience that I had in other industries could tie across into something like this. Um, and as I've been involved in programs with the clients that I've worked with, it's built my confidence. Like even just simple things like being on committees and those sort of things for sporting clubs and being the president of the sporting club. That sort of stuff holds me in good stead for dealing with things at my client. If my client's involved in either a basketball program or a something within their school or something, I can assist with those sort of things because I know how to deal with committees and yeah, just like it really is crazy. Like these are just life experiences that I've had and skill sets that I've grown a lot across my time working in different industries, and then it just all ties into support work because like when I've been involved in like the DARB basketball program with Andreas. There's been sort of peaks and troughs about his the way that he's either enjoyed particular things or training sessions or whatever's happening,
Yeah.
and because I can actually see the challenges that he's facing, I can go and talk to the coaches for him and try and find greater opportunities for him. And that sort of stuff comes from being a coach myself or being part of a sporting committee and that sort of stuff. So I'm really able to just apply things that have been part of my life previously to help benefit my clients within this space. So
Yeah, well, I think you touched on some things that are important in terms of bringing a diverse skill set. We all have our backgrounds and different um, educations or experiences, and that's the beauty of support work, is there's always somewhere where your skills as an individual can be useful. If you have a trade background, you can work with someone who's looking to get into a trade, or who is looking for that role model that can teach them things about working hands on. uh, Whatever it is that you've had experience in, you can find a niche for that. um,
exactly. And like the challenges that my clients have faced along the way, like I can remember facing those challenges as a young guy myself, and I might have had a different way of thinking about it, or I might have avoided some of those difficult things, like considering a TAFE course or anything like that, further education outside of school and whatnot. It's easy to say no to those things, but as a support worker, it's easy for us to support them and sort of suggest, hey, we're not signing up for anything. We can just go and have a look at it, and it might be of interest. Like, and I didn't necessarily have someone pushing me into those things, but I came from a different background and ended up getting into further study just because it was such an open and easy opportunity for me to get into. But yeah, for some of these guys, it can be easier to say no to stuff, but we're just there to support them and say, hey, we can still make a conscious decision about it, say yes or no to something, but we want to know more about it before we do so.
yeah, I watched Good Will Hunting last night, and so the mentality that you're sort of talking about is more of like the Robin Williams, the psychologist approach, that the hand holding through the different areas in life, and what the individual sees as important, and the journey that they want to go on, and you're just there to guide them and to be a role model. And I see you as someone of integrity, initiative, independence, and it's really easy for other people to look up to you and want to be guided by you. So I think by having those qualities, I mean, it sounds like your experience is probably a lot different to other people's in terms of being sitting on sports boards and your previous work experience, and communication is really important to you, and you probably the experiences you've had, whereas others that might not necessarily be the case.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. Like I've like within my regular 9 to 5, I'm managing people constantly and trying to get the best out of those people. And then I look the same when I've either captained sporting clubs or been the head of or president of sporting clubs and that sort of stuff. And it's you've got tools in front of you, and like I don't want to refer to somebody as a tool, but somebody has a certain skill set. I'm looking to delegate and get the best out of that person to try and get the best result for the club or the team or whatever it is. And I think that's the way I look. Like to use your way of using a movie, I would say I'm more of a Moneyball approach. Yeah, they
Great
don't
movie
have
as
to be
well.
the they don't have to be the superstar, but if they can get on base, then I'm going to use them to get on base. So
Yeah,
that's me.
that's a great analogy. I love that. I'm going to steal it. So I'm sure over the journeys, and it might not necessarily be with support work, but how do you deal with challenges like challenging behaviors, challenging families? You're a father yourself. Um, what do you think?
Yeah, so like my regular work, I work within the Department of Human Services, and there's often a lot of really challenging behaviours from tenants and that sort of thing. Recently, I've been managing a project where we've got to do get access to all properties to do a gas and electrical check, and you're dealing with so like the day-to-day ones that we get jobs for, they're they're actually asking you to come into the property because they want something fixed. But when you got to do every property, you're going to have people that live within homes that have things have started to break down, but they don't actually want anyone to come into their house to fix them because they just don't want people in there. So being able to tell them that like what we're offering is going to be a benefit to them. It's not going to be a massive hindrance. We can work around them, or we can find opportunities, because often the first thing they'll say is, "Oh no, I work 9 to 5. There's no opportunity." And so what I'll say to them is, "Hey, let us know when your next rostered day off is, or when you could possibly take an afternoon off. I don't care if it's a month away. I'll call you 3 or 4 days before that and check in again." And I just like to really stay on top of that. Like I don't take no directly as an answer, because for me, they're then going to be when I get to the end of the project, I'm going to have those 30 people that said, absolutely no, you're not coming in. And I might only have a month to try and get them all done. And it's just going to be really difficult. So I just try and stay on top of challenges. And then also, like, I don't necessarily have a fear of failure or failing. So for me, within if I was going to give you an example, or like a physical example of like at cricket or something like that, if I'm captaining a side and there happens to be a bowler that's absolutely rinsing us, I want him. Like I want to be the guy to go out and face him and show everyone that it's okay, and I'm prepared to lose in doing so. And then similar with my work, I'm more of a trial and error and learn from my mistakes. As long as I don't continue to make the same mistakes, then I'm going to learn and get better in that aspect. So that's the way I look at challenges.
Yeah. When you were talking about your work and sort of talking and communicating with people, it's a selfless way that you sounds like you approach it, and not get your ego involved. And even though someone's giving you answers that you could kind of just you could respond in a different way. You could be, very black and white. This is what's happening and this is how it is. But maybe that's not necessarily going to get you the end result that you want. So having that selfless lack of ego and working with the person, that's a very transferable skill to working with someone, within the disability sector.
Oh, 100%. I can actually, there's one client within like that DHS space that I was talking about. that really sticks in my mind. The first time I called her, I won't say her name.
I don't.
But I called her up and she's like, "Oh, you've called at the worst time. My shows are on." And so I went, "No worries, that's fine." And the fact that she answered the phone is a good thing. Like often, like you've got to either do door knocks, letter drops, all that sort of stuff when people just don't answer the phone. And I'm like, okay. So I wrote down the time of it. I'm like, all right, I'll give an hour either side of that and I'll try her tomorrow. So I did so, tried her tomorrow, and she went with the same thing. Like, my shows are on. Stop calling. Stop calling. I'm like, and I said, look, before I go, what are your shows? I'd love to know. And so then she started talking to me, and I said, what time do they start? What time do they finish? She told me. I rang outside of that. I gave her a couple of days to cool down, and then tried her again outside of those times. And I'd learn a little bit about the shows. And so I could talk and ask a couple of questions. And all of a sudden we developed a rapport. And then she's like, "Oh, what do you actually need?" And I said, "Oh, I need to get these 2 tradesmen in there. They'll be in there for around about 2 hours. Your power's going to get cut off, all this sort of stuff." Like, if she had her shows on, it would be an inconvenience. And so I said, "Look, let's get it done in the morning. Everything will be back up and running for you to jump back into your shows in the afternoon." She's like, "Perfect, let's do it tomorrow." And so someone that was really going to be difficult, like I just sort of developed that rapport with her and trust level to a degree without knowing everything about her. And away we went and got it done. And she then helped me. She lived within a high-rise apartment, and she got all of her neighbours to book in. She's like, "Oh, Ryan's great. Here." And she was like, "Do you mind if I give your number?" I said, "No, just tell me which ones are ready for the call and ready for an appointment, and I'll organise it." Because I didn't want them all just randomly ringing me or texting me or anything like that. So it ended up being, or a potential difficult client ended up being really helpful to help us sort of clear a floor, because then we could do, the guys could just jump from one apartment to the next on the same day and nail a whole lot, as opposed to going from one building to the next to the next.
Yeah. Well, you've completely enabled that situation by the tact that you've taken to handle it. Where did you, that's a, very psychologically experienced approach that you've taken. Or is that just an attitude that you've had? Like, where did that idea to approach the situation that way come from?
Oh, I think honestly, like, I experienced the other way. Like, I experienced letting me bite back in a situation and thought, hang on, I'm never going to get anywhere if I've got to deal with 60,000 people across the next 24 months, and I'm getting into a squabble with one person over something, and sort of saying, "Oh, the legalities say you have to let me in the door. We've got until this time period." Oh, it's not going to work. Like, I'm only going to get myself into further work and whatnot. And these are people that I'm dealing with. Like, they're not robots. They're not just going to go, "Oh, he has to come in, so I'm going to let him in." Like, they're going to bunker down harder than I'm going to try and get in there. So, the way I look at it is respect them as a person, and them having their mindset on what it is. Explain to them that it actually, like, it does need to happen. However, it doesn't need to happen tomorrow. I can find a day, like, I can factor them in somewhere later into the project to try and alleviate the level of inconvenience to them. But I just need to explain that we do have to get it done sometime in the next 2 years, and 2 years after that, we've got to get in and do it again. So, like, I need to at least have that level of trust with them in that space. Yeah.
And they'll remember that, I'd imagine, that 2 years later, they'll remember you, they'll remember the situation, and they'll remember how it made them feel, because it was really sticky. And I think by being so malleable, and you being the malleable, point, you've enabled that to work. What's other skills? I mean, those are super useful. What other skills do you think a support worker should have? Can you list a couple?
A support worker. What skills should a support worker have? This is the one that I should have put notes down on, mate. I think, probably being able to like think on your feet to a level, being prepared for situations as well. So considering, like, what you're going into, like, what could what could possibly, like, what challenges might your client have in that space. So if I was to give an example of that, like if they were going and joining a new sporting team, I would put myself into their shoes and think, what sort of feelings am I having around this? And on my way to taking my client there, we might talk about it, and we might talk about the challenge. Because if you ignore anxiety and that sort of stuff, and don't bring it to the surface, then it's going to build itself and manifest into something massive. And you might get, I don't want to go in. I'm not going in there today. So if you bring or like it's that communication, really, isn't it? It's planning for the potential challenge, communicating it, talking about it, talking about fears, and really bringing it to the surface so that it doesn't manifest into something massive. So communication skills, I think something that's sort of instilled in me is, if you fail to prepare, then you're preparing to fail. Like, that's something that I take across all aspects of my life, working life, my family life, working within disability and that sort of stuff.
Sport, I'd imagine, is where you got that from.
Oh, 100%. Like if you just rock up, like if I'm captaining a cricket team and the game starts at 1:00 and I don't put a set time in, hey, you got to be here by this time, to like 12:20, 40 minutes before the game. If you can't be there, let me know. Because then it means for the next 40 minutes, I can I can go do the coin toss. We can do either a fielding warm up or get everything set for our batsmen. Our first ball can be all padded up and having a net. And if I know someone's told me, I'm not going to get there till quarter to one, I'm not losing my time from that 12:20 to 12:45 chasing him up. I just know what's happening, and that's all just part of preparation, really, as opposed to letting everyone rock up willy-nilly and expecting to just throw the whites on at 5-1 and then you're going to go out and play amazing cricket. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. I think what you've described there at the start of that, putting yourself in their shoes, is empathy, and that is super important. And also you've had the confidence and the guts to discuss an issue that you've thought might arise, rather than think, he might be feeling anxious. What I'll do is I'll just not talk about it. I'll turn the radio up, and then that'll be right, because he won't get anxious because he's not thinking about it. Whereas you've taken a counterintuitive view towards it, and that's, again, enabled success, because you've thought, how's he going to feel, walking into this new stadium, new people? I'd be feeling anxious. I'd be feeling nervous. Let's talk about those things. Then it's like, what Michael Jordan says, he's experienced everything in his mind so many times. He's not afraid of failure. He's not afraid of losing. Just to throw it back to a sporting analogy.
Then even like the backside of it, at the end, or even at the end of a game, like, I know I'm using a lot of sporting analogies and stuff, but as a coach, when I'm coaching a team, I don't need if I've got a team where everyone has the same mindset and anyone scoring the points is the same value as the team scoring the points is the most important thing. As soon as I have a player falling away from that, and if they're desperate to score and they're taking low percentage shots to try and get points for their own personal reward, and they're basing their own success on how many points they get, I break that straight away. And then it's the same as when I'm taking, if I take one of my guys, my clients or whatever, to a basketball game, I don't want them to value points as the only success. Just like any coach just wants people to be playing a system, putting their body on the line, doing the 1%ers, putting their teammates into scoring positions, like giving up good looks on a basketball court for a great look for your teammate, even if it just takes a shooting percentage from 40% to a 60% chance. And I don't care if it misses, it's the right decision to play. And I'll talk about those things afterwards, because I know sometimes Andreas, he'll come off a court and he'll be like, he's jacked up a few shots or whatever, and he's like, I played shit. And I'm like, well, let's not just only look at points as it. did you do your defensive stuff? Like, do you feel like you've transitioned down the court at 100% whenever you could get down and just put that perceived pressure on a guy doing a layup? Did you do it? Or did you just chill out down there and think, oh, I'm not in the scoring position, so I don't need to get down there quick? And so finding those ways to get improvement that aren't based on points, and then for him to value and think, hey, I actually played well because of these things. And if I continue to work on those things, the points will come. And I don't care if they're my points, as long as they're my team's points, I'm happy and I've played well. That's the way I like to look at it for him. And yeah, we talk about some of those situations where he can do amazing things when he's not in a game. And then when he's in a game situation, he doesn't go to that skill set because he's feeling pressure that's coming onto him. So we speak about it. And we continue to work on it. And I try and put him into scrimmage situations and get him to make conscious decisions about what he's doing rather than going back to the automatic stuff and the under pressure stuff. And yeah, his improvement has been rapid in the last 6 months. So it's been awesome to see.
Yeah, that's an amazing outlook to have, in teaching people to value things that you can't see, the intangible things. Everyone can see points. You play cricket, everyone sees how many runs you scored. But just like life, there's so many things in life that are intangible. You can't, there's no scoreboard for how I treat other people. So if I treat this person like crap, whether it's a support coordinator or an invoice has come through and there's an issue with it, or, I can choose to treat that person like crap. There's no scoreboard. It won't catch up to me, but it does, because people remember that stuff. And people remember a negative experience 3 times as much as they feel about a positive experience. So by compounding those positive things and changing Andreas's mindset, the way he views basketball, the way he views how his game has been played. And I think for people with a disability in particular, they already have their poker chip stack so low, they don't have that confidence. They're not willing to take risks. And so by feeding them those positive changes to their mindset, it does direct the emphasis on what they're doing on the court as a positive thing. They have a tendency to be negative about stuff because that's their experience within the world, within schooling, within communication, within families. It's that they just inherently go, things aren't going well. That's it. Like, it's a downward spiral, and all those negative emotions and things come creeping back so much quicker. And it's really hard to have that resilience. So that mindset and talking to before the game, after the game, like, that's amazing that you do that.
Yeah, like it probably comes from my coaching background, but it's also like that. It's important to Andreas. Like, basketball is a massive thing to him, so it's a massive thing within his and I, our relationship. It's not the be all and end all. Like, we go and do so many social things and stuff, but the positivity comes from that relationship that we built around his interest, and having, like, me planning for those situations and trying to even come out of games where he mightn't have had a particularly great game, but if I just ignore it, it's going to be one of those things that's going to manifest, and it could either his interest in it could waver, or his effort could drop if he's not getting that reward and concept that he's doing well and continuing to improve on that trajectory. And as I said, like, that then flows into any of the social stuff we do, because we've got that great understanding going with what he's super interested in.
Yeah, you're such a good role model. You're such an amazing influence on him and the family. Doing what you do, and with your experience working with people and within disability, what skills or experience have you learnt from caring that's helped you in the world of being a father, or what are the best tips that you would give to parents, knowing what you've learnt and what you now know?
Yeah. So one thing, like it took a while for me to get the opportunity to do it. I had to really develop a strong bond with my client first, and then also the family. But to be able to actually literally involve my son, who'd never really experienced disability, that sort of thing, and like probably lived within and didn't quite understand it. And I got to take him along. The learning experience he got from that, um, like he was probably very young, maybe 10 years of age, um, and yeah, was probably a little bit guilty of possibly being like either slightly like without an understanding. I can't judge him, but like discriminatory within that space.
Yeah.
Um, and so to take him to along to a Darb game and like show him like the community that was built there, built on like everyone comes from different backgrounds, different skill sets, completely different aspects of life, and yet they're judged on their or they're graded on their ability. So you could have a 12-year-old playing against a 60-year-old, but their ability level, the level that they could play basketball is why they play together. My son grows up, he plays under 10s, under 12s, under 14s. It's judged on A grade, B grade, C grade, D grade. You don't have that diversity. And so for him to be able to come along and see that and just see like the joy, because obviously my son loves basketball as well, but to see the joy that the game brings to these guys, and the way they play it and the spirit that they play with, and then to just like oh, I love it so much. I'd love to get out there and play. But seriously, I would. I really do. So any opportunity I get to jump on, either when there's a timeout, I'll go over and have a chat. I might just give a pat on the back to a player who looks like they need a bit of support or something. And like I'm gonna give an example here. I am terrible with remembering people's names. And there's a number of people within Darb where they've played in a team with Andreas or anything like that. I go along to these games and they're jumping out of trees. Hey Ryan, how you going?
Yeah.
Hey,
And they know
Andy, good
you.
to see you.
They know
Yeah,
your
yeah,
birthday.
they know
They
me.
know where you
Yeah,
live. They know your
exactly.
star
Yeah,
sign. They know your
yeah,
favorite NBA team.
yeah. And I feel like a pop star when I go there. Like I absolutely love it. And to be able to involve my son in that, like it's not a skill set that I've got, but it's a learning experience that I've been able to bring to my family. And like I know now he's a better person for having experienced that. And like I don't want to think that I didn't have that mindset 5 years ago before I started working in this, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. And like I'm 100% a better father for being able to give that opportunity to my son. And then also like I just brought, when I went in there, I brought my coaching skill set, all that sort of stuff. And like I was just had like an open mind as to how I could help in that situation. And yeah, as I said, like I love going there. Like even if I wasn't working with Andreas, I reckon I'd probably go down and watch a couple of games and just support. Like I love it.
Yeah, you're really showing and demonstrating a gratefulness, that your son can absorb. And even if he doesn't appreciate it now, one day he will. I My mum has worked in disability, and she's just retired. She worked in disability for 30 years in administration, but I always grew up on school holidays and we would go to the adult disability center, um, and spend time there. And mum would often do the bus runs of a morning, picking up the clients on the way to their day center. And as a kid, you care so much about what other people think and you don't understand things. And so I'm guilty of the exact same mindset myself. We would tell mum, no, you park around the corner and we'll get out of the bus, because we didn't want, our friends to see us getting dropped off in the bus on the way to the disability center. So it's funny. And I'm at that point, I never thought I would end up working in disability, 20 odd years pass. And then it's just funny how things seem to work out. And, I'm sure she had a massive impact on me from normalizing that situation for me. And spending a lot of time at the centers and around clients with disability.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Like, I would say I was exactly the same. And then, but like part of the generational challenge now is like smartphones and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's the same. Like when I'm father, like being a father figure to my son, or I'm just there supporting Andreas, whatever it is. Just getting them away from that potential threat that just it just sort of feeds on either like like an addiction type thing, or a anxiety or whatever, and or
And habit.
avoiding communication, like that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. And yeah, like I would say that taking and involving my son in that has helped him in understanding that, hey, if I just go and lock myself up and I'm going to fall into those sort of spaces or whatever and just watch my TikToks and whatnot, what am I actually getting out of it? And then yeah, he'll come along to something like that and go, oh, that was actually awesome. Like I loved that. And he very well could have just spent the last hour playing on his PlayStation or something. So it's just further opportunity for me to keep challenging him in different spaces.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I, as a classroom teacher, that was really challenging. Probably one of the most challenging things, trying to break kids away from being attached to their phone, particularly after COVID, and particularly after the rules came in when they weren't allowed phones in schools. And I think I need to come and do a couple of your lessons, because you can teach me how to teach other people how to do that, because I really struggled with it.
Yeah, 100%. Like touching on the COVID thing, like being able to be an essential worker through that time.
Mm.
Oh, mate, that was an absolute, like, I was blessed to be able to go and do the things that I could do in that time as a support worker. Because yeah, as I said, an essential service to be able to support the family and support my client. And yeah, had I not had that, like I think I would have much more of a negative experience about the time that we spent in lockdown in Melbourne. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. An absolute privilege. I felt the exact same way. And it's hard to sort of see how hard people did have it, because we were able to, we were privileged enough to have that opportunity to still have some sense of normality. We got a couple of minutes left. So, um, a final question for you. What is it that you think people don't understand about what you do as a support worker?
um I'm going to start that question with the fact that like I didn't know I would. However, like I'm extremely proud of the work that I do, and like I'm always talking about it. So if anyone says, "Oh, what have you been up to?" somehow I always happen to mention, "Oh, I'm working within this space." And the reason I do it is not only because I'm proud of it and proud of the things that I've achieved in it, but I just want to promote others to consider that it's either like it changes the way that I walk down the street and see I might see somebody struggling with something. If it takes 5 seconds out of my day, I'll offer to help them. I don't think I was doing that like a couple of years ago. Like I'd just sort of turn the other way and just off I'd go. But even if it's as simple as helping someone put their groceries into the car or something and return the trolley, I'm already walking that way, so I'll do it for them. And I think what, like the question was what people don't understand.
Yeah,
Was that what it was?
yeah,
I think they don't understand the simplicity of things that we take for granted and are able to do and achieve, how easy it is to be able to help. And like if someone had said to me doing these things is going to be like work, like some of the things I've done and some of the opportunities that I've got coming up, like I'm so excited about like that camp that we got next month and stuff. And I don't think people understand, like if you've got the opportunity to help, the reward that you get out of it. When I first considered doing work within the space, I was like, oh yeah, I can take a client out and do this, and the support, it reaches beyond just the physical things that you do. just even being able to be contactable and that sort of stuff for your client. Like we've been speaking a lot about on Andreas, but yeah, other guys that I've worked with, I always sort of sign off on when I see them is, hey, if there's anything you want to discuss beyond what we've sort of covered today or anything, I'm my phone's always on, even if it's just a text message or any challenge that you're having. Just because I'm not out here working with you doesn't mean that I'm not going to take your call and help you through situations and stuff. And there might be things that they might be comfortable speaking to me about, and I can be a sounding board for those things. And they might even then want me to convey that message on to either their parents or other members of their family or people within their education space or anything. Like those are things that I like to do and offer my support, because then it just builds that rapport and relationship that I've got with my client. They've got greater trust with me, and more like they're then more attentive and excited about doing the things that we do. Like the last thing I ever want to do is go and do support work and just be there and just be feeling like I'm on the clock and working. Like for me, it's like it's a quasi friendship basically. And then I develop what I can do. So like if it's helping them consider work opportunities or anything, like these are all just things that come naturally to me, and I didn't know they were going to be of value when I started working. And then all of a sudden I was like, hang on a second, when school holidays comes up, I can actually get this guy coming out and doing some work. And that's like work experience and him challenging himself in a new space, rather than him just being at home and mum and dad having to worry about what he's doing or anything. And or even just giving them the opportunity to have a day for themselves or anything. If I create something that my client might be interested in jumping on and learning a new skill or anything, like, I don't know, it just sort of happened and grew naturally for me. And anything I seem to come up with for my clients, they generally are excited to be doing. So
yeah, that's so good that you've got that mindset, and that's such an enabling, successful mindset. And I remember feeling the same things when I started doing support work, and I still feel them now. I thought it was ridiculous that I could be, paid as a support worker to basically have a friend and to do things that they enjoyed, that I enjoyed doing with them. And it's not all rainbows though. With that freedom, and with the pros comes responsibility and the need for integrity. Being the adult and leading by example is not something you can switch on and off. We know kids and people learn from what they see more than what they hear. And so it can be exhausting after a shift where you've taken someone or you've taken a group into the community. And because you're constantly surveying for safety, safety is something that's absolutely non-negotiable. It's something that's essential. And these realizations have given me so much respect for the parents of the people I work with. They didn't get the same they don't get the same privilege of a paycheck or time off, and they can't change jobs. Some of them have two full-time jobs, a family, and whatever they're doing it is to earn money. I think when you have that mindset, and like you said, you're not watching the clock. It doesn't feel like work. That's how you find happiness. We spend so much of our time working, and to find that happiness from doing something that is so intrinsically rewarding and makes us feel good, it's the secret spice of variety. And it's the reason why I'm leaving teaching. It's the reason why I've started this business. It's the reason why I love supporting people and bringing education and information to others, so that they can be happy too, and they can get so much out of it. And by giving to others, you become entrenched in people's lives without even realizing it. And all of a sudden they're calling you a couple of nights a week, and all of a sudden you're going camping in the holidays with them. You're off the clock. You're not getting paid. You're just spending time with them because you want to spend time with them. And that's, again, your outlook about being a supportive team member of a care team. That's something that is lacking within schools, and it's really hard to facilitate because, to be honest, mate, there's not a lot of people like out there like you with your mindset that have, yeah, that's cool. Like, I'm off the clock, but I'll take this text, I'll take this phone call. I'm your friend as well as a support worker. And if there were more people like you with that mindset, or they challenge their thinking around it, then um, there would be more successful outcomes within care teams, within schools and systems and in the disability sector. So, look, I'm really proud to have you as a member of Skilled Carer, one of the founding members of Skilled Carer and support workers. And thanks for taking the time to have a chat. I think people are really going to appreciate what you said, and I certainly appreciate it. And you know, I learned a lot from what you said about your mindset around it. And yeah, so thanks a lot for
No
your
worries,
time.
man. No worries, man. Thanks for having me. And yeah, if anyone, whether it be a potential client or even somebody considering getting into the industry, if there's anything that I've said that resonates with them, then I'm stoked. So awesome.
Great. All right, mate. I'll speak to you later.
Cheers.
Thanks again for taking the time to listen. Stay tuned for further episodes released weekly. If you want to get in touch with me or a support worker from Skilled Carer, please contact us at skilledcarer@gmail.com. Check the website, www.skilledcarer.com, or leave a voice note here. We are always keen on chatting with people about opportunities and learning how we can support you and your family to make your life easier.